Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to probably the only Thursday council meeting in everybody's memory. I don't think we've had one on a Thursday since any of us have been on the council. If the clerk would note that Mr. Lawrence is not here and Ms. Newman is not present. This time I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
So moved.
By Mr. Guines. Is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. McGilvery. Any discussion? All in favor of suspending the rules? It's approved on a 5-0 vote. Thank you. If the clerk would read the changes, please.
To the policy agenda, we're substituting item 4E, resolution appointing Iris Minor to the Municipal Election Commission. To the consent agenda, substituting 5J, resolution authorizing additional repair to plaster work at the Sanger in the amount of $29,698.08. And code enforcement hearings, we're removing and postponing 6A through 6H until January 28th.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda by Mr. Guines. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Glavin. Is there any discussion? All right, Ms. Newman's here. If there's no discussion, we'll call for the question to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor? It's approved on a 6-0 vote. All right, we're ready for the mayor's report. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to welcome everyone to snow-covered Biloxi on a Thursday afternoon. First, before we go on, I want to recognize and thank everyone else, essential personnel from the police department, fire department, public works, and everyone else for what outstanding job that they did responding to the things that we haven't done in a long time. So I've got my share of phone calls, Chief. I know y'all have got your share, and so I'm real proud of those who stepped up. I would ask at this time also part of the report about Bobby Gillen to come up and give us a little report, if you like, on the Greater Biloxi Foundation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate taking a little bit of your time. My name is Bobby Gillen, and I am the current incoming president of the board of directors of the Greater Biloxi Economic Development Foundation. I've met with some of y'all, and some of y'all I've worked with in different capacities through the past years, but I wanted to take this chance to reintroduce the organization. We have a storied history in Biloxi, founded in the early 80s, and over the years, the foundation served a number of different purposes for the community and worked in synergy with the city and with various organizations to accomplish economic and community growth opportunities for Biloxi and the greater Biloxi area. Over the last few years, a core group of business owners, entrepreneurs, property owners, and really community leaders in the area have come together to make up this new board of directors, and we've rebranded our association, our foundation. We've spent a number of years working with different folks and talking to different groups about what we need and what we could do for the community moving forward. And I just wanted to, as I said, I've met with a few of y'all, but we are here to help the community and the city move in a positive direction. Now, we've invited any council members to join us at any of our monthly board meetings. That invitation is still out there, but I'll be reaching out to each one of y'all individually, as well as any folks in the city that are looking for a place to kind of give back to the city that we all love. And just to give you a sense, I'll leave you with this one sentence. This is from our bylaws to give you a sense of what we're thinking and where our minds have been as we've redrafted bylaws and taken the foundation to this next level. We're here to encourage, foster, and advance economic and community growth, promote civic pride and awareness of the greater Biloxi area. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I wanted to reach out and let everybody know that we are here and we have money and ideas, and we are looking to continue to work with the city and the chambers and everybody in this community. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Bobby. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Gillen. Anything else?
Well,
Mr.
part of the report, as you know, on holidays and that sort of thing, I think we were delayed 2 days as far as trash pickup. So if you do on Thursday, you'll get it Saturday. And if you do on Friday, you'll hopefully get it Sunday as far as trash pickup. So, it's sort of unusual and exciting to go through these things, but I'm glad the snow's over with and waiting for the sunshine. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We don't have any departmental reports. We'll move to council reports. Mr. Gaines.
Yeah, I just want to echo what the mayor said. Our police department did a great job out there. I got a chance to get out about a little bit. The presence was everywhere. And so safety was first. Everyone behaved themselves, and everyone had a good time. So I just wanted to echo that our community was in good shape. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gaines. Ms. Newman.
Do you have any updates on the Broadwater property? I keep hearing we've got some homeless going in. And what about the methadone clinic, Mr. June?
Well, Chief, you want to tell them what you know, and I'll tell them what I know, and that is that Cotton Forest crew has done a lot, cleaned a lot of more area out. So you can see from Pass Road all the way to the front beach now.
You can, and what Ms. Ford had told me was that they were going to continue till everything was done there. They're not going to leave any brush or anything that would restrict visibility. It's going to be completely cleaned.
Amazing. That's what I like to hear. Okay. Thank you. Are we still doing the hub house though on the Beauvoir or no?
I'm
For
sorry.
the police station hub house? No?
Substation, we
Yeah, I don't-
we talked about the trailer that we had, but we hadn't gotten off.
I don't think there's a need for it there now, once this is cleared.
Okay. Perfect.
Along those lines, Councilman Tisdale, we talked about the movement of some of those folks to the west, and to the west of, closer to DeBees Road. There's a number of little triangular sets of wooded areas, and some. I think we attacked a few of that on by Fernwood Drive or something.
Right.
But anyway, there's movement. Like the tide, it's going to move, and I think that's what we're trying to keep up
Gotcha.
with. Thank
And
you.
what about the methadone clinic and also the property, the car wash? They had basically the same syringes and things like that in the backyard, and supposedly they just put them in a garbage bag and moved them, but then that's not the rules with the,
Well-
hazardous waste.
Right, yeah. Biohazard waste is supposed to be controlled waste, that's taken away. My guess is that probably came from the methadone clinic when the dumpster was not secured
Okay.
and was moved over to that area near the
That
woods.
could be.
However, what's happening on the car wash property is that someone else has acquired it. They're going to be turning that into offices across there. They have not submitted the building plans yet, but they do have DRC approval for what they proposed. And we are keeping an eye on the methadone clinic. Our code officer will be out there tomorrow to continue to make sure that they're keeping that clean.
Okay, and we did get with the car wash to get that place cleaned up, correct?
That's what they're doing now. They're cleaning it up. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Newman. Mr. McGilvery.
Just one item. Mayor, do we have a status on the Park and Recreation Commission that we've been talking about?
Not really. I think Peter's been chasing some of the language that needs to be. Peter, is it fair to say?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and, I'd say within the next meeting, I'll go ahead and provide the sort of suggested changes to the code, because there were some areas in there that don't really line up with the current statute, but I think the next meeting is Tuesday. Let me go the next meeting after that. I'll have y'all something.
All right, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. McGilvery. Mr. Glavin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd also like to echo the efforts of all the first responder, Biloxi PD, Nick Geiser, for being the point on some of our emergency management issues. The county, particularly Dan Cuevas, and he kept me abreast of what was being done and what was the bridges closing and opening. It was great to see the public announcements that frequently came out to inform the public. I'd like to commend the citizens for adhering to, for the most part, safety and staying off the roads until we can make them a little bit safer. But it was certainly enchanting to see the kids and different families out there making snowman, having snowball fights. And I didn't get a chance to challenge my colleagues on the council, but I'd like to, they can always do this, to polar bear plunge before we get back to reality here. You can post that on Facebook to let your constituents see your enthusiasm. And that concludes my report for today. Thank you.
I'm polar bear plunging as we speak, Mr.
There you
Glavin.
go.
Thank you. Mr. Shoemaker.
Just a few things. The roundabout, hadn't been a whole lot of work done there, unfortunately, obviously because of the weather. But I think they're getting close. Like I said last time, once we get through the snow, the rain, and the cold, hopefully they'll get a few things finished up and get the asphalt on there. They were working a couple days ago. Well, a couple days ago before the snow, they were out there in the daytime working. The last couple weeks, obviously because of the weather and the rain, I've had numerous reports and some calls, messages on ditches and drainage. I've put some in. I'll continue to send them to Public Works, and obviously it's just because we've had such heavy rain and so much rain, and then this snow didn't help things. And lastly, just had a question, Mayor. Since we canceled the MLK events on Monday, I know we had budgeted some money for that. What happens to that money if the events were canceled?
It's still in the budget, plus we've received a number of donations, so I think it's still stacked in the budget for either next year or something that may happen. So I think we had 10 originally.
Right.
And I don't think we dispersed any of it, or maybe dispersed some of it for the events that happened between January 11th and in the last few days.
Yeah.
Whatever's left that we haven't spent, plus the new donations from probably about 8,000 to come from other sources. It's just in the budget to be determined on what we need to do. But we haven't spent it. We haven't, it's still there in the budget.
None was spent. A lot of big donations came from a couple of casinos, and just set it aside until they decide what they want to do with it.
Okay, good deal. Yeah. Thank you, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Just two things. Mr. Leonard, just need a position vacancy report for January. I'll send you the form if you'd send me that data.
I think we have it here.
Thank you. The second thing is I know that, as I recall, we had a small plat in the Biloxi Cemetery that made plots more available, but I think all of those were sold. Do we have any plans to acquire any more space for the cemetery? If I have a plot, all right, so if I don't show up, you can come looking for me. You should be able to find me. But I'm thinking for families here, local families, it's just, there's no room in the cemeteries unless you go to, I guess, north of the interstate out in Ward 6 or 7 or family cemeteries or whatever. So it'd be great if we could, put out feelers just to see what property we could acquire. It'd be great if you could find something for sale around the cemeteries. I don't know if that's possible, but just.
We have some potential to do some expansion. There are some existing, we know historically there's some existing lots that are not being used by anyone, and the families are actually in a different cemetery.
Okay.
But it'd be a matter of contacting some of those families and trying to buy it back and then selling it back.
Right.
So that's one of the things that's sort of always, it's on our to-do list.
Right. If somebody just make a note of that and, periodically make the effort. And other than the vacancy report, that's all I have. That brings us to the public agenda. We'll set aside up to 45 minutes for those who wish to address the council. If you wish to address the council, we'll permit you up to 3 minutes each to speak. If you do speak, come up to the table when you're recognized. There's a sign-in sheet, and then state your first and last name clearly after signing in so the clerk can record your name accurately. Is there anybody on my left, your right, that wishes to address the council? Anybody on your right? Is there anybody on your left that wishes to address the council? Anybody in the back? Does anybody wish to address the council? We're
Too damn cold.
We're grateful, thank you. It is a bit cold. All right, that being the case, we'll move on to the policy agenda. We have a first reading. If the clerk would read item A, please.
Ordinance to approve a zoning map amendment to authorize a change in zoning for 2 parcels of land from limited business to neighborhood business for 221 and 223 Beauvoir Road.
I'll make that motion. Is there a second? There's a second by Ms. Newman. Thank you. Since this is a first reading, we'll have a second reading and a vote at the next council meeting. That brings us to item B. If the clerk would read item B, please.
Resolution granting vacation of a portion of an unimproved public right-of-way for a portion of Elk Street.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move it.
Mr. Guines, is there a second? By Ms. Newman. Mr. Guines?
Yeah, Mr. Jerry?
This is a little remnant piece of Elk Street, which is on the west side of Kivett Street. It runs in there beside that vacant building. You know, on the corner there, you've got the tire place, and then you've got the, used to be a Latino restaurant or grocery store. What this would do, it basically just goes in there 75 feet and ends. It's 29 feet wide. And what this would do is vacate that little stub in there, and the real estate agent is trying to sell the building, but they need a little bit more parking, and they would get 14 and a half feet of the width of that strip, and then the property owner on the north side would get the other 14 and a half. It serves no purpose. There's no intention to extend it, and it's not taking away access from anyone else there. So it's a good request.
Thank you, Mr. Creel.
Ms. Newman, anything? Any other questions or comments? There being none, we'll call for the question. All in favor of the resolution as presented? It's approved on a 6-0 vote.
Thank you, Mr. Creel.
Okay.
Thank you. That brings us to the next item, item C.
Resolution to grant final subdivision plat approval for a 27-lot commercial subdivision for 458 Back Bay Boulevard.
I'll move it.
There's a motion by Mr. Glavin
I'll second it.
and a second by Mr. McGilvery. Discussion, Mr. Glavin.
We had originally approved this as, I guess, a temporary or the preliminary.
You approved it as a PDI, a planned development infill.
Right.
Which allowed them to create smaller lots in there. All this is the final subdivision, and the only difference is it gives them the right to sell the units and or rent the units if they choose to do that.
Sure,
That's
and this was discussed at length when we debated this for some time.
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay, all right, and the investment is significant.
It is. I don't know the exact dollar amount. Mr. Nick Gann is here, the engineer on the project. He might have that information, but it is a nice development. They finished up the landscape on it, and you could drive by and take a look at it. It really turned out nice.
Can you disclose, is that public knowledge? You mind disclosing what the investment? Approximately $3 million. Okay, good. I have no other comments.
Mr. McGilvery?
No comment.
No comment. Any other discussion? I do have a comment. I'd spoken with Mr. Lawrence, who's not able to be with us today. He had asked that this be tabled subject to call, which he anticipated to be our next meeting, which is 5 days from today. And since it's in his ward, I would like to see us extend that courtesy to him. In order for that to happen, Mr. Glavin would have to withdraw his motion, and Mr. McGilvery would have to withdraw his second, and then there would have to be a motion to table.
Procedurally, I don't I don't think we have to withdraw anything. We just need somebody to make a motion to table it.
Okay. Is there a motion to table this subject to call? I'll make that motion.
A second.
So there's a motion to table. And a second by Mr. McGilvery.
And Dr. Cizille, to correct that, I second that.
Well, the original motion?
Yes.
Well, I thought Mr. McGilvery said it before you did.
Okay.
But fraction of a second, but he was out of the blocks first. All right, so there's a motion to table it subject to call and a second. Any discussion, further discussion? We'll call for the question. All in favor of tabling this item subject to call, just raise your hand, please. All opposed? It's approved on a 4-2 vote. Thank you. That brings us to item D. If the clerk would read that item, please.
Resolution appointing Ernest Parks to the Municipal Election Commission.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
By Mr. Glavin, is there a second?
I'll second it.
By Mr. Guines. Mr. Glavin?
Mr. Parks has enthusiastically indicated that he very much wants to be involved with this, and I hope we can appoint him without any reservations.
All right, Mr. Guines?
I echo the same thing.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? I don't know Mr. Parks, excuse me. Yeah, I don't know Mr. Parks. Could somebody tell me something about Mr. Parks?
Mr. Parks is right here. He's in the audience. Would you please step up, Mr. Ernest Parks?
I apologize, Mr. Parks. I don't know you, hadn't met you.
By the way, that's George's brother.
I figured it was a relative, but I wasn't sure. He's so much better looking than George.
Not George Lawrence. That's not George Lawrence.
George Parks.
So you know.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. If you would just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I went to high school and junior high school here and joined the service, went out and seen the world, and me and my wife decided to move back to Biloxi after completing our missions of work. And so once we came back to the community, we tried to figure out how to pour into the community, and this was one of the ways my brother and I had talked about me doing.
Right. Well, thank you. Nice to meet you, Mr. Parks. I knew your brother for quite a while. He was a fine fellow. Yes, sir, Chief.
Mr. Parks also went through the Biloxi Police Department Citizen Academy, a perfect gentleman, a really fine man. That's why we found him to be.
Outstanding. Okay, any further discussion? There being none, call for the question. All in favor of this resolution is presented. It's approved on a 6-0 vote. Thank you. The clerk would read item E. There's a substitute. So if the clerk would read that item, please.
Resolution appointing Iris Minor to the Municipal Election Commission.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move it.
By Mr. Guines, is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Glavin. Mr. Guines?
Yeah, Miss Iris was unable to be here. She is a business person in the community of Ward 2. She's over 30 years doing hair care in our community. She's out working at this point, and I'm just happy to have her here.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Guines. Mr. Glavin?
Only thing I have to add, looks like she's done a fantastic job on Councilman Guines' hair. And we look forward to congratulating her joining this commission.
I like it.
I wish mine looked that good. All right. All in favor? Any other discussion? All in favor of the resolution is presented. That's approved on a 6-0 vote. Thank you. Brings us to the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
By Mr. Guines. Is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Glavin. All right, we'll start with Mr. Guines.
I have nothing at all.
Okay, Ms. Newman, anything? Mr. McGilvery, anything?
Item B, the inventory. I noticed when I saw it, it had Tullis Manor across US 90, but it doesn't really list anything. Is there a clarification on that, Mr. Mayor? 900-272. Tullis Beach area across Highway 90.
It's going to be one of the, it's going to be in the exhibit. It's going to be around the middle of one of those pages. It's 900-272 is the number in the left column.
I'm not clear what it is, although we did, that's part of the, of course, overall, Tullis is part of the option that the Tullis investors have, and it's possible in the past we may have
Bench equipment.
we may have put it as surplus property that we could dispose of it. But
So this is south of Highway 90? Or maybe we should just pull it off the list until we can get a clarification?
that's a great idea.
I'm sorry?
That's a great idea.
All right, so let's pull that off the list of surplus, if the clerk would note that. I think we want to,
I think you just excise that, just delete that item from the schedule.
all right, so we could have a motion to delete that item from the schedule, could we? Amend the resolution, okay, so I'll need a motion to amend the resolution to remove, I guess it's a reference number, 900-272, Tullis Beach area across Highway 90.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Glavin and a second by Mr. McGilvery. Is any discussion?
I have none.
Okay. Mr. McGilvery, any discussion?
No, sir.
All right. Any other comments or discussion on that particular item? On anything else, Mr. McGilvery?
No, sir, that was it.
Okay. So do we need to do anything else on that? We need to vote to remove that? We need to vote to exclude that item, right? All right, all in favor of excluding 900-272 on the list of items to be declared surplus, just raise your hand. That's approved. All opposed? That's approved on a 6-0 vote. Thank you. Okay, now let's see. Any other items, Mr. McGilvery?
No, sir.
None.
I have none.
You have none. Mr. Shoemaker, any items?
Just one, Jay, regarding the Sanger Theater. That additional work, I'm assuming, I guess, was work that, or this damage was discovered while other work was being done?
Well, in archives and, with the state archives people, they wanted repair of that stage, the columns and the plaster work. It had to be approved. I think our, Mandy kind of work with everyone there to make sure to approve that. That was the work that was done. About 20 feet from the stage and, all the columns and stuff like that. That's what it was.
Do we know, or is there any idea when the Sanger itself, when everything will be done, work-wise?
We don't know. I'm hopeful by May. I'm hoping to be in a mode to not completely total what we need to put inside of it, but openable, if we will. Is that not fair? So the things we need to do, number of refinishing of floors, nothing major, just finishing things with regard to being able to be in and functional. But there's some audio visual and there's other things, lighting that we're working on, and we're working also from the revenue or the funding part of the deal. That's not, we haven't brought those details forward yet. But the major stuff, the stuff that needed to be approved by archives, will be done and will be walkable and doable, hopefully
That's
by
pretty
May.
much what this is. Okay, thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Shoemaker. I just have one item. Let's see, this deals with the municipal compliance questionnaire that I think we do this annually. I always ask, are all the responses accurate? I assume they are, but that would be true. Is that correct?
Is it identical to last year's?
So okay. So it's as accurate as last year's, right?
That's correct.
All right, thank you. And no offense, Mayor, for this next one, but I'm thinking there's something in there about relatives, nepotism or whatever, blood, marriage within the third degree, and I'm thinking you're related to half of Biloxi. I can count all my relatives in Biloxi on one hand. No, you don't have enough we don't have enough fingers and toes in the room to do that. But I'm just checking to see, does anybody on the administrative end just check that to be sure? If not, we need to do that just to be sure we're complying. You just are related to a lot of people. You're not related to Mr. Abide, you're not related to Mr. Leonard. Everybody else, I'm not sure. All right, and that being the case, we'll call for the question, and then we'll on the consent agenda, and then see if there are any exceptions. All in favor of the consent agenda as presented, with the exceptions to be noted. It's approved on a 6-0 vote. Thank you. Any exceptions, Mr. Guines?
None.
Ms. Newman? Mr. McGilvery?
None.
Mr. Glavin?
I have none.
Mr. Shoemaker?
None.
And I have none. Thank you. Normally, that would bring us to code enforcement, but we are rescheduling all of these code enforcement hearings for our next council meeting on Tuesday, the 28th of January. Do we need to do anything else,
Need a motion? to
Clerk?
do that, or
Nothing.
announce it?
Okay. That brings us to the routine agenda.
So move.
There's a motion by Mr. Guines. Is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Glavin. All right, Mr. Guines.
I have none.
Mr. Glavin, anything?
Walt, you want to give us an update? Show us the money?
Fill in those shoes.
Good afternoon, council. So last week, we received $308,000 from MEMA. Currently, they're working on a fairly large reimbursement package to the city. Today, the council voted in approval for 2 reconciliation change orders, which after MEMA reviews it for reimbursement, that will bring back an additional $1.3 million to the city. Those are monies we've already spent, and now we need MEMA to review it. And you voted on that today, so thank you, and hopefully I'll have an update by mid-February.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions of Mr. Rhodey while he's up there?
Thank you.
Being none, we'll call for the question on the routine agenda. All in favor? It's approved on a 6-0 vote. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn
So move.
by Mr. McGilvery. Is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Glavin. Any discussion? All in favor? We are adjourned until Tuesday, the 28th of January at 1:30.